Hello and welcome to another scene for the Living World of Darkness, Changeling the Dreaming 20th Anniversary Edition venue set in the Kingdom of Apples. Today's scene takes place in Brooklyn as a member of the royal court set in Manhattan starts making his rounds. Charles, what are you doing?
Charles? No, it's not Charles this time. No, as much as it would be nice for more pleasantries. No, it's Cararis that's walking out to these nights, because this discussion is going to be more of a serious matter, more important matter, for is a matter of two young burgeoning nations, so to speak. A barony and a governor barely out of their infancies, the one only slightly the senior. Now, this is something that he is not necessarily loath to do, but it's a little bit of it's slightly putting him out that this is something that's had to come to this. Regardless, he is making his way to the auto shop of Maurice. He was debating of whether or not he was going to visit Sam first with the governor and then work his way to the rest of the council. But Maurice's shop happens to be on the way to Sam's, and it made more sense to him to make that stop first. After all, Maurice did manage to deliver his shield, his heraldry. Be rude not to pay him the courtesy, at least for that.
Maurice's shop is, while it's closed for the day, you can see a light from sort of the back where the garage where they would take the cars in. So this is the route you're going to have to take to reach him. He's sitting at his workbench comparing to a replacement piece for an old Chevy. Leaning against the wall is a large truck hood-sized shield, a treasure he had crafted. It's a blue shield with horns, red wings, with white wings and a red hydra on it. 2 hounds that mark loyalty. A crown. It leans against the wall, untouched, as he looks at these pieces in his hands. One very old, rusted, falling apart, and the other shiny and new. A restorative piece.
Charles, or Cararis, I should say, makes his way, but he doesn't say anything. He knows whose domain he's in. He keeps his head low, not out of like he keeps his head like slightly tilted downward, because not out of shame, but more out of respect for the fact that he's on someone else's property and waiting to be addressed.
He's not going to look up from these pieces until Cararis is practically next to him. And he'll set them down. Clear his throat. Gonna say something?
I was trying to be polite and wait for you.
Usually a hello, is anybody there, is the polite way to enter a place, but what the hell? Come on in.
Charles nods and maybe it's just one of those courtesies I'm having to get used to being here.
Mm-hmm.
May I sit?
It's a free country.
That's not what I was asking.
Feel free to sit.
Thank you, Maurice. And he takes a seat. And at this point, he's looking like directly at Maurice, those stained glass window eyes, looking at this old man.
Sort of leans back in his chair. Eyes up, Carraris. So what are you here for?
2 reasons. The first is a discussion that's probably not going to be very comfortable, but unfortunately it's a discussion that we're going to have.
Mm-hmm. And the second?
The second was to thank you.
For?
The coat of arms.
Well, with that out of the way, I guess all that's left is the uncomfortable discussion. Pops his knuckles.
Yes, indeed. Sits back and there, looks at him. Did Amber warn you that I would be making my rounds?
Yeah, the kid let us know that you wanted to have a talk with us. Figured you'd hit the youngins first.
To be honest, I was originally going to go with the governor first, but I felt it would have been rude after you had given me something that to leave you waiting.
So what is this piece of uncomfortable conversation that we need to have?
Well, I'm sure we're both very well aware of what happened last week. That insult that Manhattan had done to Brooklyn and the retaliation in response.
So are you here with an apology?
I can't apologize for the actions of my lord. I unfortunately have to stand by them.
So the kid's not sending an apology?
No, I am reaching out. I am reaching out. Because I need to understand the gravity of where everyone on that council feels slighted. Because regardless of whether an apology is coming or not, we can't afford, neither can afford, not Manhattan and especially not Brooklyn, cannot afford anything resembling a war. Both are within their infancy. Both are too young. And with the Count sitting high on the savannah, watching both of them with predatory eyes, I don't want either smashed into the ground or micromanaged. I want to come to a conclusion, even if that means that ultimately we decide not to interfere with each other's business again and build up those walls high between us. But I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm not going to be able to bring up solutions unless I talk. So that's why I'm here, to talk.
You're kind and they're fucking talking. It's not goddamn talking until our ears bleed from your bullshit. It's your goddamn swords. You know, I was here. I was here when your kind came back. I was 12 years old. I just finished watching the moon landing with my dad. We were glued to the TV, and I was so fucking jealous and just dumbstruck. I remember that day. I've tried to fucking magnetize a nail by wrapping a wire around it and plugging it into a socket. Blew the fucking socket out. It was a hell of a day. Hell of a day. And then those trods opened up. Those, what the fuck do you people call them? Glimmers?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the return of the shining hosts. Those people on high. The return of our majesties. Expecting us to be grateful that they wanted to put their boots on our throats. As they pushed us out of freeholds that would have died if we hadn't cared for them. When they pussied out the first time around. And then when we don't fall into line, they want a goddamn war. They want to come at us with iron blades under a flag of, like strokes his jaw a bit, of diplomacy. The first High King fell in Manhattan. I was there. I was there when High King Lord Daffil was found in the goddamn subway with an iron blade in the back of his spine. And I wouldn't be surprised if the next High King falls there too. But I was ready to put that shit behind me, kid. I was ready to put that shit behind me and move on. We all lost somebody at that battle. And I considered myself a real lucky motherfucker that I was able to find him again. You don't get to find someone you love twice in a lifetime very often. But I was a lucky son of a bitch who did. And then your Lord leaves that wedding wide open. And I get the news that he's slaughtered again. Because of some she bullshit. Let me tell you something. These kids here, all of these young people that are on this council, even that little baker who's serving as the governor in this governy, they put their ass on the line for your Baron. They were at his wedding when he wasn't. They were at his coronation when he wasn't, saving lives. What he should have said, what a smart man would have said, is thank you. We owe you a debt of gratitude. And even an idiot would have known to shut the fuck up. But he wants to call us out because we want to treat people equally here. Like we did before the Shining Host came back with their heels on our throats. And expect us not to feel betrayed when he does that? How are we going to make this nice?
There's been something going on with Charles as he had. Charles. No. Which one is it? Which one is it that's feeling this thing when the moment, the memories, that pain, the misery, and he knew what was coming. He knew what was coming. Oh, there it was. That word, that it wasn't the title of the night, but iron, and a moment of peace. Oh, he's taken everything he could just to let Maurice keep speaking as he's hearing the pain, the sorrow, the betrayal, everything he could to hear it as his teeth's been gritting. Those diamond teeth, not smiling, but bearing. But not at Maurice, no. Maybe a little bit, maybe just a little bit, but that anger. But where are we going to play nice when he finally is finished? Charles gets up. He can't sit still. He's pacing as his right hand is flexing over and over again, and he's trying to stop it with his left, but he can't stop it. It's just so goddamn agitated. Now listen to me, right here and now, Maurice. I don't know the depths of your pain. I know that. I know I don't know that pain. I know I don't know the depths of betrayal. Or the depths of knowing someone you had loved or cared for twice in a lifetime being ripped from you. But don't you ever compare me to those goddamn fucking animals. Don't ever compare me to those animals who who state that they're here in the words of peace and wish to talk and bury blades to kill dreams. Don't you ever compare me to those bastards! Don't you ever compare me to those goddamn monsters!
Maurice stands up quickly, slams his hands down. You're serving somebody who told that girl, the redhead, Amber, he wants to make nice. He is surprised that we were left out of these fucking negotiations. He wants to play nice, and then he goes and he turns around. How is that any fucking different? How is that any fucking different? He should be grateful he still has lungs left to lie with.
Of course he should.
And you serve him.
And why do you think I am here? Because I'm here to clean up a mess. You think I don't understand what this is? You think I don't understand how this could fucking go? Don't you think I want to keep that from happening? Because I will not bury a blade into anyone. Not iron, not steel. I don't give a shit. But I'm here because while I serve him, and while I have to abide by his fucking decisions, I'm here because I, at the very least, am going to make something right out of this goddamn mess.
Well, I'd love to hear a way for you to make it right. I think we sent you a bill. Maybe you can start by paying it.
The bill. Yes, the bill. Is that going to fix it, though? A bill? Is that going to be just the start, though? Or is that going to make anyone feel happy about what happened? Is that going to make anyone feel secure? Oh, we have 61,442 dross now.
It'd be an acknowledgement for the first fucking time.
Yes, it would. But would it be enough? Is dross enough, Maurice?
It's not the dross. He hasn't even acknowledged. He hasn't even acknowledged what those kids put on the line for him.
There we go. That's it. That's where I'm here for. I want to know where you want, what you want.
I want him to grovel to those kids. He should be thanking them that he is alive. Instead, he wants to call them out. They're a brand new fucking experimental government as far as we're concerned. And he starts stroking his jaw again. And he reaches for a bottle. It's orange. And he puts a finger up to say, just a moment. And he looks at the pills and just a moment. I need to go get a glass of water. And
Do you want me to get it for you?
just stay put. I'm fine. And he goes to like the restroom in the garage to you going to look at what that bottle is by any chance?
Yeah, sure. Perception. I don't know if it's like if he's holding the bottle while he leaves, or
No,
if he
left the bottle on the counter. He just took 2 pills with him.
Yeah, he's going to look at it.
Okay. It says Renexa.
Renexa. Is that going to be a intelligence medicine?
Yep.
I don't have medicine. Well, that's a diff 6. Oh, no, diff 7. Sorry, let me...
Well, I mean, Charles has a smartphone. He can always Google it.
Yeah, he'll probably do it if he doesn't recognize it immediately. Oh, what do you know? He got 4 successes on that, so...
You've probably had a couple of older patients or something along those lines who've used it before. It's used to treat chronic angina. Maurice's heart is bad.
At that point, Charles, he looks at that for a moment. And there's something very almost uncharacteristic for a moment where he puts it down and he tries to turn it right into the place where it was so that it didn't show it was looking at it. But he was about to sit down, but he realized he said, "Stay put, stay where you are." So he stays. But he starts to calm down. But there's a troubled look over his face.
Maurice isn't gone for very long. He is just getting a glass of water to swallow the pills. He comes back sipping on the water and sits back down and just takes a couple of deep breaths, all the while stroking his jaw.
And Charles is standing there and he goes, "Please forgive me, I read the bottle."
He just sort of gives like a shake of his head.
How long has this been happening?
I'm an old man. The doctor said this will, I don't know what the fuck it's actually supposed to do. He says as he just kind of pushes the bottle back against the wall that the table's set against. Stop something, fix something, keep something from happening. It's not my fucking forte, he says, sipping on the water again.
I'm sorry I lost my temper. That betrayal. I may not have lived it, Maurice. I may not have suffered directly because of it. I'll never know that pain. But I hate the fact that it's something that happened. and that I, unfortunately, am going to have to be associated with that goddamn monstrous event for the rest of my life, and that I'm going to have to do everything I can going forward to show that I'm not like them. And you're right. They're all so fucking stupid. He sits down.
The new High King. He was supposed to be this beacon of hope. Shit's gonna be better under him. As long as we accept that the Shi are our leaders, things are going to be better under him. That was the fucking thing we tricked ourselves into believing. This bright-eyed, bushy-tailed kid fucking finds Caliburn in an alleyway. And it's supposed to be an end to all of our fighting. Just so long as we accept that our place. That's a dead dream, kid. Doesn't move. You know what happens to a body of water that doesn't move? It stagnates. It gets filled with bacteria and all sorts of nasty shit that gets in cuts and kills you. It's a cesspool. Let's all play kings, queens, and princesses. Well, us commoners, we were here a long goddamn time. We had to make adjustments. We had to change. And then a bunch of shiny motherfuckers come through some holes because humanity, just for a second, just for a moment, realized they were capable of going to other worlds. And they came in, flooding back to put us in our places. So if you want to be different from them, maybe instead of trying to figure out how we can make things right, why don't you start pressing your heel to that kid? Put it on his backside. I don't know what you guys were attempting with that shit with the other baronies. Honestly, I don't give a damn. Let the nobles play noble. There was no fucking reason to try and belittle this barony, specifically because of who is ruling it. We may want to act like it's all politics. Well, that's real cute. But the politician of Manhattan owes his goddamn life to the politicians of Brooklyn. And not in some symbolic way, not because of some loan made, not because we sent soldiers, but because the actual people sitting here, ruling this kingdom, stressing over how we're going to educate young changelings and how we're going to care for the old so they don't fade. They're sitting there trying to make the best out of the responsibility that they've been burdened with. And some little punk-ass kid who is given his authority by his daddy has the fucking balls to call out his rescuers? You tell me. How are we going to fix this?
I don't know yet, but I have one of 6 pieces so far, thanks to you. I want to see Brooklyn rise up. I want to see this change, this break from the mediocrity, from this things that the way that things always were. I want to see Brooklyn rise up as something that it can be proud of itself of. I'm not going to run your place. No, don't think I'm planning on anything along those lines. No. That's your job. That's your council and your governor's job to make this place something that you want it to be, to rise up to something great. But what happened is not going to be good, isn't just a blow to Brooklyn. Everyone's watching Manhattan. And this treatment against you, what they have just done, that's not something that people are on board with. Everyone knows what the people of Brooklyn, those people who sit on the council now and who is going to be sitting on the council, have done for Manhattan, for the people, for these places. They're watching the young lord too. And I made my oaths. For good or ill, I made them. And I will stand by them. But that doesn't mean that I still don't have my own interests or my own desires or my own hopes. And I'm hoping that there's going to be a way that Brooklyn can come out looking good. And the young Baron will show some humility and come out as well. And it's not going to be easy. And you're right. I'm going to talk until your ears fucking bleed. But I believe that's how we're going to solve this. And you want me to put a boot to him? I can't do that. But he listens to me. If he doesn't listen to me on these matters, well, do what you have to do. I may have to stand in your way, unfortunately, but at the very least, you'll have the first crack at me.
This is the reason nobility is a dead dream. People refuse to change or imagine yourselves as anything other than a series of words. I've made my oaths. You know how many times I've heard this shit? You get to be as old as me, you're going to hear the same shit repeated from different faces, different mouths, but it's the same excuse. Time and time again. It's what I am. It's what I am. Well, be better. You want to stand in our way even though you believe Brooklyn should be respected? Stand by your own beliefs for once, as opposed to what somebody over you says. What happened here in Brooklyn, this is a sign of the times. Ask yourself, do I have a dead dream that just stagnates, is ironclad? Or am I a dream that continues?
And Charles at that one, yes, it is Charles on that one. Maurice. And there's genuine like concern on his face as he's looking at him.
What? What?
Should I go? Because if I'm stressing you out this much,
If you can't handle seeing the results of your actions, yeah, go ahead and piss off, kid.
and with that, he puts his fingers and he folds his arms and he looks at Maurice like right in his eyes, and he doesn't move. He just stares at him.
Do I have something on my face?
No. I'm learning to stomach my actions. And to learn.
He just sort of rubs his hands. There, as a kind of mark of his kith, he has the long black nails, his knuckles kind of swollen, his fingers long. They're much stiffer than they would have been on a younger man. And as you're staring at him, you begin to notice something that perhaps a lot of people aren't noticing about Maurice. The colors in his swirls. On young knockers, there are these bright red marks. Maurice's have dark patches that seem to pulse as he gets angry. The bright, vibrant red, symbol of life, sort of losing color. His eyes, which seemed faded, could be attributed to cataracts, but just staring at Maurice, you realize you're looking at a Fey soul that is struggling so hard to stay awake.
And there's just shock for the most part when he comes to this realization of what he's looking at. And he sits back and almost like a paralysis. He doesn't. This is the first time he's seeing this. Maurice, how long have you been fading?
That's what happens when you get old. Start coming into work longer hours, and talking to more humans. Things seem to just sort of seem less important. You start forgetting things. It was much worse before the wedding. All these young ones suddenly popping into my shop. There were days I'd look at Dixie and not realize why the hell she was there. It's what happens. This is age. I was lucky. I was so lucky that I met my love twice. His name was Peter the first time around. Henry the second time around. We were just kids. Manhattan. We were sure we were both going to live forever. But then about 20 years afterwards, I saw him again. Just... it's the laugh, you know? We'd started fighting because I'm old. Give me a fucking break. I'm a little set in my ways. So he goes off to some party. Some wedding. It's going to be the event of the season, he says. I tell him I want no fucking part of it. Just want to go to bed early. Do my crossword puzzles. And I'm not going to be around for the third time. These kids are going to want to make me hold on, stay bright and vibrant. But it doesn't really seem very kind at this point. I'm not going to try and stick around longer than I have to, but I sure as hell am going to make sure that Misha and her little friend and William, that they're set up well. As well as I can help them.
Maurice. I'm sure you've heard of Maxine.
Yeah, I've heard her name brought up a couple of times. She's on the bill.
She also died at that wedding. There's also something else that only I and Misha know. But I was the one who knew it. During the bombings before Absinthe, before that final confrontation with Absinthe, Maxine and I had brunch. Well, I never actually got to eat anything. The conversation moved too fast. But we took a walk. And she gave me her goggles, and I had noticed that Misha had been having her gun. Had her gun. You know, the first thing people do when they don't when they're planning to either commit suicide or they don't intend to live for very long, they start giving things away. And she gave me those goggles. And when I tried to ask her about it, she looked at the sky and said, "What a beautiful day it was." And I knew. I knew she didn't intend to come out of that alive. And what the worst part was, I couldn't stop her. She lived. And I felt relief because I got to see her for just a little bit longer. Maybe we were going to go travel somewhere. Maybe that would just have been a bad memory. And she died. She was killed that night. And I couldn't. And there I was, unable to save her. Then, when I could have. Maybe if I had paid more attention, maybe if I had focused on her just a little bit more. But the thing that's going to remain with me is knowing that she was ready to go. And that ultimately it wouldn't have mattered whether it was from absence bombs or being stabbed in the dark alleyway and, I don't know, during a wedding. She was ready to go. And that's something I'm going to have to bear for as long as I live. I don't understand. I don't. But Maurice, if you really need to go, when this is all over, when Misha and William and them have their way, their setting, I'll defend your right to go. If that's what you want. And if you don't want any of that, then I will stay out of it.
Got some dust in my eye, I think.
Charles actually rubs away those sapphire tears that started to.
A lot of people lost somebody that day. And loss is never easy. But I'm an old man. And as much as they want to say shit like 50's the new whatever goddamn age it is, I've seen a lot of shit, done a lot of hard work. And denying the inevitable just stresses you out more than you need to be. They don't need to know I'm dying.
And he shakes his head. I won't tell them. That's not for me to tell.
How long have you been around?
It'll be a year in July.
So you're still relatively young. And don't give me any of this eternal fairy soul bullshit. You're new here. Things are different here. Demonstrably different here. People's minds change here. You're going to find yourself in a much better position with everything. You learn how to change. This is coming from somebody who lost because I couldn't. Should have gone with Henry. And then I could have gone with Henry. That's... I'm not going to say how to make things right because one old man. And there's 6 of us who have to come to some sort of consensus. But maybe instead of the same old shit we've been fed, this right to rule, nobility of Concordia, dream proper, whatever the fuck it was Mab was saying. Maybe take a page from where you are. Throw everyone for a curve. Because everyone here's sick to death of the old stuff.
keep that in mind. Thank you for your view, Maurice. That's all I wanted.
You can go ahead and fuck off. I gotta go watch a Wheel of Fortune or Jeopardy or whatever it is us old coots watch. You have a good one. Don't trip on your own whatever it is you have going on here. He says, pointing to your generous amount of flora and fauna.
Charles smiles at that, and it's supposed to be charming, but of course it doesn't quite come across that way. Maurice. And he holds out his hand.
Maurice will take his hand and give it a shake. His calloused, arthritic hand.
And Charles looks at him, and he's looking him dead in the face at this moment. I hope we'll meet again, maybe face to face again one last time.
Jesus, kid, I'm not trying to kick the bucket this weekend.
Charles just smiles at that one. It's like, well, you know us youngins, we get into all sorts of trouble.
Have a good one. He starts closing up his shop.
Charles starts to head his way, and he doesn't quite make it to Sam's Bakery before he ducks into an alleyway, and he's Why? Why are you all so willing to let go? It's a few minutes. Before he finally somehow manages to get some measure of composure, and he pulls out his handkerchief and just rubbing his eyes like crazy before he finally manages to get some measure of self-control before he almost writhed for the moment makes his way to Sam's Bakery.
Sam's Bakery, the because it's evening. It's the open lights are off, but the lights are still on. Sam does baking in the bakery.
What?
As opposed to, some other place.
My word.
Well,
Anyway.
Some people bring in baked goods. Sam is not one of those.
Next, you're going to tell me everything's made from scratch. My God! So,
anyways, so if you enter it's still like the door is still open because somebody's in there. You'll hear from like bustling in the kitchen, and that like too fast for human, but what boggins do when unobserved. You'll hear just like, when I get old and losing my hair, many years from now, will you still be sending me a Valentine? Birthday greetings, bottle of wine. Whisk quickly, and eggs are cracked.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me? When I'm 64. And that freshness of Maurice hits over with a new wave. And Charles has to pull out a chair. I know they're all flipped over, but he almost like stumbles against the table for a moment as he
Hear the noises in the kitchen stop. The bowl is set down. Sam's head peeks from the door of the kitchen. Hello?
Ah, Sam, I'm sorry. I I didn't mean to come in like this.
Oh no, it's okay. It's okay. Here, 1 second. And Sam scurries off and comes back a moment later with a little box of tissues. Here, I always have some of these. I'm kind of a softie too, so here.
I've never been much of one. But recently, he says as he starts wiping his eyes and he blows his nose. Recently, I just seems to be just the waterworks. Is that what they call it?
Yeah, springing a leak. Here you go. Did you need something? I've already packed up and donated today, like the leftover baked goods. But if you give me just a couple of minutes, I can whip something up real fast. It's just about to pull some macaroons out of the oven to cool.
You don't have to, Sam. But if that's what you want, then I would accept graciously. But I don't think I'm hungry right now.
Glass of water,
Water,
milk.
water sounds good.
All right, ice or straight at bottle. I don't know what's your preference.
Dealer's choice.
All right, just a second then. And Sam scurries off again and comes back with like a chilled bottle of water.
Charles opens it up and drinks, and it's just those things when you cry a lot. There's a lot of you drink quite a bit. Thank you. That was when I'm 64, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm a sucker for Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. I mean, the Beatles are okay, but that was really like I love that album. Bright colors and the songs are so different from everything else the Beatles do. It's what can I say? It's one of my favorites. Can't get over it.
Mm. I'm sorry to barge into your establishment like this and like this. He says as he's like gesturing at like the tissues and stuff like that. I promised you I was not intending to have a breakdown in your kitchen or your dining area.
Oh, no judgment.
I am here on business.
Baked
So
goods, or should I summon the council?
he shakes his head. It does deal with the political climate, but I was hoping to talk to you.
Oh,
I just got done talking with Maurice.
uh-huh. And Sam has like a really concerned look on their faces. They take a chair and set it down in front of Charles. You don't mind if I'm sitting, right? I mean, I shouldn't have to ask. This is my place. Okay, Sam. I'm just gonna take a seat. I'm sorry. So, what do you need to talk about?
He's looking at Sam and that whole thing. Well, I want to talk about what happened last week.
So much happened last week. What do you want to talk to me about?
Well, I want what you feel about the situation.
Why?
He sort of tilts his head at Sam at that one, and it's just like, well, first and foremost, you're the governor. You represent Brooklyn, as well as the rest of the council. And he stops as he says that as Sam sort of like, that noise. Are you okay, Sam?
Yeah, no, I'm.
There's a perception psychology psychoanalysis roll coming your way.
Cool.
Yeah. One, two, three successes.
Sam's having a hard time looking at you. Just like Sam gazes up and then just like is like trying to like catch their breath, and then they look at you again, and it's just they seem very put off by you.
Am I making you uncomfortable, Sam?
Look, I know you work for Sebastian, but it's just, it's really hard. It's really hard. It's just, it's really, just a second.
At this point, I don't think I need a psychology roll on this one. This is a panic attack.
Yeah, like Sam just like darts for the kitchen, and like if you follow Sam, like they have like a pastry bag up to their face, and they're just like as they try to compose themselves.
And he doesn't like come around the corner, but he's like listening to it at that moment. As he's wondering if his presence alone is causing the thing. So he's waiting on the other side of the wall. He does take a quick peek to realize that confirm. Yes, okay, it's a fucking panic attack. And he's just staying nearby enough in case he needs to do something to try and intervene and help. But he understands that keeping the distance right now, especially if he might be part of the trigger of the effect, it's best that he's not within view.
You're like kind of the slide down as of somebody sitting on the floor. Come on, Sammy. They're all counting on you.
And he waits for like about a minute or two before he finally speaks, because he's going to have to speak, whether it's going to help her or not, them or not. He needs to speak. Sam, if you prefer, I can just stay right here. We can talk like this.
You're just a lot to look at. I don't know. I just like, what are you? Why is Sebastian trying to say something, sending someone like you to come smooth things over? Like, it's not enough to be I'm on high. No. I mean, I know I'm not doing the greatest job. I'm doing my best. I mean, this is the first time any of us have ever done anything like this. None of us are politicians, really. and then we get this message that they're calling us out, and then they send you. Like the pastry bag goes back up to Sam's face.
Sam, no one sent me. I came of my own volition. And I'm not here to intimidate you or browbeat you. That's why I'm staying right here, just on this side of the wall.
Yeah, but it's like the image of you is like burned into my eyelids. Like I blink and I see you, and it's just it, it's like, you know how they tell you not to stare at the sun in an eclipse because it's just gonna like burn that shape into your retinas. That's what looking at you is like. I don't know if you, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be going off on you. We can't control how we look. um,
No, Sam, please keep going.
it's just you're just it's so much. It's just so much, and you're just you do you know what it's like being me and looking at you? I mean, I'm already kind of out of my element here. Uh Mr. I mean, sir, I mean, what am I supposed to call you exactly?
I think for right now, with what we're talking about, regardless of the politics, just call me Charles.
See, someone that looks like you shouldn't be called Charles. That would be like calling the statue of David Dave.
Sorry, I'm laughing out of character at that. Okay, sorry, please continue.
Be like, it just seems a little casual, and that level of casual is disrespectful. Like, you should have a name that's some sort of like, I don't know, inhuman screaming howl in the night or something. Um and it's one thing when it's like, oh, here's some cookies or a bottle of water, it's fine. But when that comes at you and it's like, hey, let's discuss the politics of your governor, it's it's just it's a lot. And I mean, yeah, the sheer pretty. Um but like your Baron, he's pretty like a movie star. You're pretty like um I don't know, staring into a black hole while you're barreling towards it. It's just, it's, how am I supposed to talk to you as an equal or as a governor to a representative of another barony when I can't even, I can't even look at you without realizing I'm nowhere close to what you are. You're you're not even the Baron. You're just his knight. and I and I'm supposed to just talk to you like you're either my equal or my underling, because I'm supposed to have the same level of authority as your boss. Are you kidding me? just fucking look at you. And you're his knight. Oh god.
Cararis. If you feel it's disrespectful or too casual to call me Charles, Cararis.
Of course it's a name like that. You know what my Fae name is? Cheery.
And it's very much he's had to gone from playing very different from Sam, but now at the very moment this is another side of Charles who's coming out, the therapist, the psychologist side coming out of here and stuff. And I'm sorry I distressed you, Sam. That wasn't my intention. But I'm beginning to think that it's not just me that's distressing you. And you don't have to tell me if you don't want to. But it sounds like there's been a lot of things that have been really pent up. Still on that other side of the wall, not turning around, not peeking. He said he wouldn't do it. He's not doing that. Establish that trust.
I really care about Brooklyn, Mr. Sir Carraris. I'm doing the best I can. And I have the support of my council. They're rooting for me. But when we're less than a year old, and a she baron calls us out like that, and then instead of coming himself, I know you say you weren't sent, but you're his knight. If you're supposed to be the emissary, it's an intimidation tactic. It's just saying to me that I'm never going to be taken seriously by your, or probably any of the nobility here in New York City. And if I fail them, it's on me. If I can't meet their knights eye to eye and say, this is what's important to Brooklyn, what the hell am I doing?
I promise you, I wasn't sent. And I understand how that might look, regardless of whether I was sent or not. And I know what you have to be as far as a responsible leader. Trust me, I know better than anyone, he says, and there's almost like a yeah sort of in his own thing. I know better than anyone. And Brooklyn, in its infancy, it's barely been 3 months now. There's no way you would be able to have everything ready or under control or everything working right now. It's growing pains. It's learning experiences. And sometimes those lessons are harsh. And sometimes they're cruel. But Sam, You've been running this for 3 months. That's 3 months longer than anyone has been governor of Brooklyn. That's something to be proud of. And I think after our conversation tonight, I don't think 3 months is going to be end of that. I don't think so. I say these things, but what's important is that you believe that. But right now, I don't think you do. So let's talk. Like I said, I'm not going to come around the corner unless you want me to. I'll stay right here. And if you don't want to talk to me anymore, that's fine. You can tell me to go and I'll leave. Or we can stay where we are, and we can talk.
Why are you being nice to me? When your Baron basically accused us of hurling people into the street. It just feels so personal, you know? I was I let the Isodor's wife, Margaret, she was working for me. Because she said no, she had nowhere to go and no one would trust her. And then you guys made that proclamation. she drags me into my own kitchen, right? And tells me I would rather be a noble in a stranger's home than a peasant in my own. And then she storms out and just flips my croissants onto my customers. And I was just trying to be nice. She was so scared that she wasn't going to have somewhere to stay. And I figured, well, I need an employee. I pay a decent wage. I mean, people like what I make. Why would she say that? Was it so bad here?
Sometimes when we give the best intentions, we're met with responses we don't necessarily understand. We can't always understand what motivates a person or what a person will do, or when a kindness is taken advantage of.
What were you trying to do? Huh? I mean, you're 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 talking to me like a friend, but your boss basically just called us shit. Pardon my French.
No. Say whatever you need to say.
What were you? If it wasn't malicious, what was it?
I didn't make that proclamation. I had no idea that was a proclamation to be made. that the proclamation was even going to be made. I made a statement to the young baron that Brooklyn should focus more on its own policies, not necessarily the policies on those outside its borders. You're a young barony. You're a young governor, I should say. My apologies. A governor. You should be focusing on your own issues. You shouldn't be focusing on the motivations or actions of those outside your borders. You need to make yourself strong. However, there was a number of knights or former knights and stuff that were not being used or not being put to their tasks. I had suggested to young baron that we should extend an invitation to those knights for new opportunities. I wasn't asking for something. I didn't intend for a call out to happen. I didn't intend for a slap to the face to be done to the face of Brooklyn. I'm here because I believe that Brooklyn can become something great. And I believe that we are dealing with two very young nations. We're dealing with Brooklyn, something new, something untested, untried. And we're dealing with Manhattan, who, while functioning on a tradition older than older than most, I should say, at the very least. We have someone who's young, and it's said, untested and untested. I'm being nice not because I'm a friend, Sam. I'm being nice because you're the governor of Brooklyn. And despite what's happening here right now, with me on this side of the wall and you over there, just because I serve my lord and I keep his best interests in mind, doesn't mean I'm out to destroy you or your confidence or your agency. If anything, I want to make sure that when this talk is over and whatever happens going forward, that you have agency. Because that's the only way this is going, that with what's happened now and what happens going forward, that both Manhattan and Brooklyn are going to come out something better.
Sir Carraris. Brooklyn is better. I may not be the strongest person, but I believe in what we're doing here. We listen to the voice of the people. And you know what? If I fail them, they'll put somebody better in charge next time. And I don't mean to be mean.
Be as mean as you have to be.
When do the people of Manhattan get to replace Baron Sebastian if they're not happy with him? See, if they're not happy with me, my head doesn't have to roll off my shoulders. just don't vote for me. Or they impeach me. Get the council to remove me if I fail. You say you didn't know that this proclamation was coming. You sound a little offended by it. Brooklyn is better. I may not be better, but Brooklyn is. And if my people feel confident enough that they know, in knowing that they can remove me as a ruler, well, take this as you will, but I imagine they would look at Manhattan much the same way. You hear her getting up, them getting up off the floor. And walking around and turning the corner. Your Baron did. And they're still not quite looking at you as they talk. What your Baron did was conniving and self-serving. If your Baron and you thought we needed to keep to our own politics, you could have done what House Duran did. They came, they told me they were joining some allegiance, and that it was best not to hinder them. It's fine. We're a free state. People get to make their own choices. But when my people were offended, and then your Baron says, well, I'm going to have a talk with my knight, and then immediately turns around and instead of a talk or an apology or even a private acknowledgement that something had been done, calls us out. Well, he certainly is proving that Brooklyn is better. And perhaps he should be paying attention to his own barony and not worrying so much about ours.
If I could ask one more favor of you, Sam. Governor Sam.
Governor Kephart.
Governor Kephart. You made a brave stand. Come around this corner and tell me this. Now, one more thing. As a knight, beneath you, as a governor who should stand as equal to a baron, I want you to look at me and tell me with as much conviction as you can muster that Brooklyn is better.
Sam takes a moment. From their very short stature, looks up into the stained-glassed eyes of Cararis and squinting like they're staring into the sun. Brooklyn is better. And if your Baron doesn't watch it, we'll show him how much better we are.
And with that, there's a long pause, and then there's that smile. That smile that goes a little too wide. Of course, Governor Catprick. I'm sorry if that wasn't the last name. He would have gotten it right.
Catpart.
Catpart. There we go. Catpart. Of course, Governor Catpart. May it be known. And with that, he bows to Sam.
Sam gives a very awkward, head nod. It's probably best that you go.
By your leave, then. And he turns and he walks and he says, Governor.
Yes?
You showed tremendous growth just then. You're going to lead Brooklyn just fine. And with that, he steps out and closes the door behind him. And it has been a long, long, long evening. And then he walks away, 2 pieces of the puzzle in his hands, or in his head. As he walks along, thinking along the memories of Maurice, his own feelings, his own emotions, and how his passions should grovel for forgiveness or for some measure of acknowledgement of all the good that had been done on behalf of the commoners of Brooklyn, who are now councilmen and women. And for Sam, there was no swearing of his oaths there. He wasn't betraying his lord in providing Sam with confidence. In fact, it's better for the young Baron if he gets someone with a little bit more of a spine in their meeting. No. Brooklyn needs to come out of this looking good as well, not just Manhattan. There's too much going on with Sam that one evening and one conversation is not going to resolve. But when Sam looked at him, even if it was having to squint, but without any words faltering, not even a moment of hesitation, they told him that Brooklyn was better. And they said, well, they even said more. So, he sighs. Brooklyn wants acknowledgement. That's so far the pieces of the puzzle. And perhaps maybe the borders will have to be strengthened. And their noses kept out of their business. 2 pieces of the puzzle, 4 to go. And on the way, he stops just for a brief moment as he looks at Maurice's shop. And I don't know if there's a light on or not. It doesn't really matter, but he stares at it for a long moment. Like there's some sort of specter haunting over it. And for a brief moment, he sees himself And Maxine's standing on the steps, even though they'd never been there before, but her looking up. What a wonderful, what a lovely day it is. And he closes his eyes. And one more tear wells up. He wipes it away. And he turns away. And he walks. It probably is going to be way too long of a walk to get from Brooklyn to his apartment in Manhattan, but for now he needs to walk. And behind him, trailing behind him, every footstep, thorns creep out of the cracks of the sidewalk and twist. Periodically, something blooms. Something bright. Something pure. Something gorgeous. Flower. Flower whose depths drink in the emotion and reflects it back out. Not love, not compassion, but hope.
Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. We'll see you next time.